Hello and welcome to Trucking Office Live. This is Alan Campbell with Trucking Office, and we are doing our daily check-in on our trucking company, and we're working on how to run a better trucking business. Playing around with my software features, I just did a cool little countdown video there. It's kind of a default thing. Maybe I'll make a better intro video, so let me know if you guys like that. Anyways, the purpose of this video is to ongoingly every day we're managing a mock-up trucking business. So I'm just going in and putting in a few sample loads and a few sample expenses, and we're looking at some reports. And the idea here is that it really only takes a little bit of time every day to keep your trucking business on track. And then everything else that you have to do with your trucking business that you hate doing is so much easier. The reports are just a click away. Invoices are so simple. Tracking things is all right there. Just every day when you book a load, enter the information. As you enter the information, the system just keeps everything else on track. Okay, so let's look at where we're at for today. Let me get my screen share going here. Right there like that. Okay, so this is where we're at. Where we're looking at here is the main list of trips. So when you log in, you first go to your dashboard. Then I've just clicked over here on the nav bar to the list of trips. And so this just shows what loads are on the road right now. So yellow indicates something to deliver in the future, either tomorrow or someday in the future. So this load delivers on tomorrow, the 5th. Actually, today's only the 3rd, so it's going to deliver the day after tomorrow on the 5th. The load is going from Los Angeles, California to Phoenix, Arizona. Today is November 3rd. It is election day. I won't say anything about politics other than to go vote. Everybody has an opinion, so you better vote for your opinion. Let's see. Next thing we have is a couple loads that are highlighted in green. In green indicates loads that deliver today. So today, like I said, today is November 3rd, so we have 2 loads going on. We have a load from Akron going out to Chicago. And this particular driver, we have Bill Smith. We have him on a dedicated run. He's going from Akron to Chicago and Chicago back to Akron over and over. So it's the same thing each time. So what we'll do first is we'll say, okay, he delivered this load in Chicago and we've checked on it and everything's up to date and he's empty. And then using his ELD app, he went ahead and took a picture of the bill of lading right in the app. And then when he does that, the bill of lading shows up right in our system for us so that we can just go ahead and create the invoice. So what we want to do then is we want to go ahead into the loads view. And I'm going to see this load here was Akron, Ohio to Chicago, Illinois. If we view that load, it'll show us all the invoicing information that's going to be used. And we just like we proofread it, right? If anything's off on the numbers or any typos anywhere, anything that we need to adjust, this is our time to adjust it. Then everything's good to go and we're ready to go with it. So we'll go ahead and create the invoice for this load. System automatically gives it an invoice number. Today's date is fine. The remit to is for factoring and stuff like that. If you got to do a third-party remit to, we can enter that right here. If everything's, we're not going to use the remit to in this case. And then our load is already checked off right here. You have to check off which loads you want to have included on this invoice. So we're just doing this one load. It's already grayed out because it's up here at the top in our selected loads section. But everything looks good, so we're just going to create the invoice. There we go, it's done. So now if you want it as a PDF, you can print out just 2 different versions of the PDF. Got a little more list view and one's got a little more detail. That's all. It was just that easy to make an invoice. Send via email, a great feature. Once you get that on there, you can send it over to your broker or customer. You can attach a file like a rate con or a bill of lading, whatever you need to do, and then just hit send, and that thing will fire off. Now, obviously, I just have some sample data in here, so we're not actually going to send the email, but you get the idea. All you have to do is click on that thing, and it goes. Then we go back here to loads, and we'll see that this load that we just updated, this Akron, Ohio to Chicago, Illinois for Bill Smith, is now his status has changed to invoiced. Okay, so that load is sent. All done, right? So now what's Bill Smith going to do next? He's delivered in Chicago this morning. We invoiced it right away. So whatever the payment terms are, that whole process gets started as soon as we fire off the invoice. So literally within, as soon as he delivers, like within a matter of minutes, somebody back at the office can be shooting off the invoice. Or even if you're an owner operator and doing all of this on your own with your phone app, you can take a picture of the bill lading while you're you can be in the mill getting unloaded, or in the warehouse, whatever, getting unloaded. They've signed off on your bills. You can snag a picture of it. And then in a little while, when you get into your laptop in your truck or whatever, and you pull it up, everything will already be there. You don't have to fumble around with emails and texts and this and that, and figuring out how to save it and attach it. It's just, the system just does all that stuff for you. It just updates and it fires off real easy. The next thing we have to figure out is, what is Bill Smith going to do though after he gets empty? What's his next load? Well, he's on a dedicated run. So he's going to do, if he did Akron to Chicago today, then he's going to reload in Chicago to come back to Akron. We just have him on a dedicated thing. So this load down here, this previous load that we did, or that he did, I should say, Bill Smith, he went from Chicago to Akron. So now he's going to do another one of those. So we're just going to clone it. And all it does is just make a copy of that load. Since we're doing the same thing over and over again, it's real easy to just copy it. And then it already fills in the customer. It already fills in the shipper. We're just going to change the dates, because now it's November 3rd. So we're going to pick this one up on November 3rd. Okay, just like that. The bill lading number is probably going to change, so we'll just change it. We can just make something up there. Then it's going to deliver. Instead of delivering on November 2nd, we're going to deliver tomorrow on November 4th. Okay, appointments are first come, first serve. Same shipper that we're going back to. All that information is the same. The rate's the same. This is a pre-negotiated thing that we do over and over again, a dedicated run. Okay, maybe it's on a contract, maybe it's just a broker that we're friendly with, and we just do this all the time. A lot of different scenarios out there, but I'm just showing how easy it is if you're doing the same loads, how easy it is to just clone them and go. So now that's just what I'm looking at here is the planned load section. And when you save this information in here, it's just saving all the stuff that you entered. That's all it does, and gets everything ready. So the next step then would be to add this planned load to a trip. So basically what we're doing is we're dispatching this load, and we're going to put it on a trip, and we're going to assign it to a driver. That's why I say dispatching. We're going to assign this load to Bill Smith. He's the one that's on his lane. The system already knows that he drives truck number 2, and obviously you can change that if he's, sometimes most guys keep the same truck pretty routinely, but every operation is a little different. But if any reason he needs to change trucks, you just pick a different truck off the list, whatever he's driving. But it knows the last truck he drove was truck 2. The system does. The system knows his last delivery was in Chicago, Illinois. So then we're assigning this load from Chicago back to Akron. Okay. And then we're not entering any expenses right now. We're just assigning the load to the trip, and we're just dispatching them. Okay. So we save. Trip saved successfully. Now on this step, when this happens and we create the trip, that's when the system starts tracking everything that needs to be done. So here's your basic information again. Okay. We scroll down, we have the driver settlement information. The driver pay gets calculated and updated right at this step. The profit and loss statement gets updated. This information is updated on all the reports, and it's updated on a load by load basis. Okay, this is the load information that'll be used later for invoicing. When we're ready to, we can create the invoice, but we're not ready for that yet. We'll go ahead and haul it first and then deliver it. Then we'll be ready to create the invoice maybe tomorrow. This is showing you the invoice summary. So here's all the information that we have for that. It runs the miles using PC Miler set on practical miles. So the miles are updated by state and total miles, loaded miles, empty miles, all the miles. At the bottom is the actual route of the truck for this trip. Empty miles, loaded miles, it picks that stuff up automatically. You don't have to enter in an empty move or figure all those little things out. The system just does this. You're just putting in where you load, where you deliver, and the system just updates all that stuff for you. Every once in a while, I have somebody tell me, geez, I just keep track of this stuff on a spreadsheet. It's easier. Well, I mean, a spreadsheet's never going to do all of this stuff. And then I have other people with more of an accounting background and say, you know what, I use QuickBooks, or there's different accounting programs out there to keep track of the revenues and all that. There again, that's fine, but it's not going to do everything that the system just did. It's not going to run the miles by state automatically without any extra effort. It's not going to update the invoice. And like now you can just click a couple of buttons and you have an invoice made and you can fire it off via email. Everything is just really, the system just does all that stuff for you. And that's what saves you so much time, improves the accuracy of your records, and makes your life so much easier. The other little thing that goes on in this step that I didn't mention is that when you assign it to the trip, if you're using the trucking office ELD also, that load information, just the load information, goes right to the driver's ELD app automatically. There's no extra buttons to click or things to think about or anything like that. All the load information goes right to his ELD app instantly. So the complete addresses and phone numbers and appointment times and all that kind of stuff for the load information all shows right up for the driver. Okay. Now, when we go look at that new load, and we go over here to the load section, we'll be able to see that this load is the second line down from Chicago to Akron is the one we just did for Bill Smith. Okay. And then its status now is dispatched because it has been assigned to the trip and has been dispatched to the driver. Okay. So let's see, that takes care of everything we need to do for Bill Smith for today. Let's see what else we have going on. Another driver that we have going is John Doe. John Doe was going, and it's in green, so we know it delivered today. Again, we can check right there's the date, November 3rd. He went from Canton, Ohio to Houston, Texas. So that means he's down in Houston, Texas today. We check in with him. We find out his load's delivered. He sends us the bill of lading. We already have the rate con. So that means we should be ready to make the invoice. So again, we'll do another example of this. We'll check the load info from the view load. There's a couple different ways to make the invoice, but this is the process I like to go through. And then create the invoice here. We'll use the default number. That's fine. We're not going to use remit to on this one either. Okay. In the selected loads, we can see we have the Canton to Houston load. It's checked off down here. And then just one little button there to create the invoice. Okay. Then it's created. We're ready to do, if we need a PDF, we can print it out, save it to our computer. We can use the save via email, or excuse me, send via email button, which is really the easiest way to fire that off. And then we're all done with that one. That one's good to go. So then we have to figure out for John Doe, he's completed his load. We've invoiced it. If we look at the invoice, or the loads list again, we'll see that the status changed here to invoiced. Okay. So his load is all done and invoiced and squared away. But now, what's he going to do? When we look at his trips, we know he's empty in Houston, so we need to dispatch him on something else. So what we'll do is, maybe we get on the load board or whatever, and we find him a load from Texas coming back up to Ohio. Maybe he's running that lane for a while. So all we have to do then is add a planned load. So we just go back here to the load planner. We add in the load information right here in the planned load. And then we'll need to use a customer. And do we have any customers in Houston? We have a fast warehouse in Houston. We'll say that's the customer we're hauling for today. I know that warehouses usually aren't fast, but since we're just having fun, we'll say that's our customer for today. Fast warehouse in Houston. We'll say we're going to load today on the 3rd. Put in a bill of lading number. Okay, how much weight are we hauling? We'll just pick that 43.5. You can fill in some other information here. If you have a PO number or something like that, you can put that in. You can see that this would be included on the invoice. So if you had a rate con number or a PO number or whatever, you can put that there. Bill of lading number, driver instructions. This is where you would put like appointment time, pickup numbers, whatever you might need. Maybe you need a pickup number in there. And then this information shows up right on the driver's ELD when we assign it to the trip, like I talked about, and it gets assigned. It gets sent right over to the ELD. This is the information that will show up on the ELD for the driver. And then consignee, back here in Ohio. Well, let's enter a new one just so we can take a look at that. Let's say he's going to go to Youngstown, and we'll say that he's going to go to the factory over there in Youngstown. Okay, all you have to do is type that in, pick your state. I just typed the O for Ohio, and it picked it. Really, there's a drop down menu here of the states, but I just typed O, and it picked it really easy. All this other information is optional. We need to know the city and state so that we can track all those miles and everything. You can put in all keep all your records as detailed as you want to, though. There's plenty of information. We'll go ahead and save that. Now, what we did is we just entered a new address into our address book. So whenever you create one, it's creating an entry in your address book. But most of the time, what I'm doing is just searching some stuff that I already put in there. Okay. But that's how it works. It only takes a minute. Today's the 3rd. So he's picking up today from Texas back to Ohio. We'll say it takes at least 2 days. I'm going to go ahead and put in a 3-day slot just to give him plenty of time. So we'll say he's going to deliver that by Friday on the 6th. And then the rate coming out of Texas, usually rates are a little bit lower on that lanes. Probably, I'm just going to say about $1,800. Just making up numbers, obviously. We'll put that in as a flat fee. Fuel surcharge, we can do a couple different ways. Like you can put in like the number 10, for example, and then change this to a percent. And what that'll do is calculate $1,800 and it'll do an additional 10% for a fuel surcharge. So there's a couple different ways to enter in that fuel surcharge. You can do it as a flat amount. You can leave it blank. You can play around with that depending on your situation. On the right, there's some other accessorial fees you can enter in, like lumpers and detentions and stuff like that. But right now, I don't have any of that, so we're not going to put any of that on this one. Okay. So then when we save that, again, all that's happening is just saving the information that I entered as a planned load. So if we go back here and look at the load planner now, you'll see we have one load in there in the load planner. Okay. Now when you go look at the trips, that load's not there for trips yet because we didn't assign it. That's be the next step, is assigning it to a trip. We'll assign it to John Doe in truck 3. We'll go over here to the loads. It won't show up here yet either because it's not an active load. It's just a planned load. That's why we call it the load planner. All right, so then we'll go back here and we'll add a trip. And then our driver is John Doe. And he is driving truck 3. Okay. And the system then knows that he delivered here in Houston, Texas the last time. This is the planned load that we're assigning to him. This time it wasn't checked because I went in through the other way, a different spot. So we'll make sure that's checked and then we'll save it. And then that will assign that load to that driver and we'll create the dispatcher, create the trip. Okay, successfully created. And then once again, all that stuff happens. This is all the trip information, the fees. It's updating the profit and loss and all of the reports. It's updating the driver settlement so we can do driver pay at the end of the week, whenever payday is going to be. This is the invoice summary, so we'll be able to create the invoice with all this information later. Here's the miles by state for every state that it's going to go through. And again, this is using PC Miler, set on truck route, practical miles, so that it doesn't do shortest distance or whatever. It's doing truck routing, and those are IFTA acceptable miles for the government. Okay, and then down here at the bottom is just the route that the truck is taking, the stops that it's making. Okay, so then when we go back here to trips and see what's going on for the day, we can then see that John Doe is going to from Houston back to Youngstown, planning to be there on the 6th. I've got myself down on a load from California to Phoenix. I guess that's taken me a couple of days. I'm kind of a slowpoke driver, I guess. And then we've got Bill Smith is doing his regular route from Chicago back to Akron. He's on a dedicated lane. Okay, so we have everybody now dispatched, everybody that delivered today, and this is their upcoming trips. So if we had 3 trucks, this is what it would look like. We would just go in and update some things every day. If we got loads that are delivered, let's get those things invoiced. We got new loads we booked, let's get those entered. And that's really all it takes. If you need to enter some expenses, we can do that too. Let's see, let's add an expense. We'll add in, we got, different things, but let's just say fuel is the most obvious one. We can say that today, Bill Smith bought $500 worth of fuel. Oops, not 5,000. We'll say 500. Unit he's driving, I think, is truck 2. We want to assign it to a trip. We can do that. It says there's multiple trips available. This is a new feature we just recently did. A lot of people have asked for this feature. And so this is something we just added to the system recently. Gallons on $500. What are you getting for gallons? I don't know. Let's say 200 gallons. Oh, fuel costs more than that. We'll say 150 gallons. We're just making stuff up anyway, but try to get somewhere in the realm of reality. Let's see, fuel vendor. I think I have a Flying J in Toledo. We'll pick that. And then we just have to clarify where we want to declare the IFTA miles to show up at, or the gallons, excuse me. This is about the gallons over here. So we want to make sure we bought that fuel in Ohio. So we want to, for our IFTA report, we want to declare it Ohio and then create the expense. Okay. So then that shows, I'm trying not to sneeze, excuse me. Trying not to show on 11.3, we're trying to just show that fuel expense, created right there. It is assigned to this trip. If you want to go look at it on the trip, there's a quick little link. It's taking you back to this trip. This is the one we just created today. And then he bought fuel today. So then we can see that show up, not on the invoice summary, on the profit and loss. Okay, we'll see that right here. And then that's the 500 that we just put in, and then so that shows up on the trip profit and total expenses. Also shows up on all your major expense reports, I'm going to say, like the company overview report. Those expenses all show up. The revenues all show up. When we look at these reports, now this is just got some basic data in here because I've just started running this. But you can see for the current month, this is showing the current year to date, all the months here. But it'll show you revenue, expenses, and profit. And we talk about this every day. I know we need to check this like we do the bank account. You know, is our revenue per mile? How's it looking? Our expenses per mile? Our profit per mile? All of our key stats are going to update all the time. What is your average miles per load? What are the miles so far for the month? All these kinds of things just update automatically. You know, we have other reports too, like the IFTA report. Quarterly IFTA is down here. There's several different management reports that can help you look at all different kind of numbers from your business. You know, the IFTA report for Q3, I didn't change that. I don't have any miles in Q3. I should have looked at it for Q4. Let's see. Okay, we come back in here and we'll just change that to Q4. Okay, and then we can look at that anytime we want to. We can see how many gas we have going, and we'll see how many miles and gallons we have for every state, every jurisdiction. We don't have to keep track of that stuff. The system's doing all this stuff for us in the background. Just makes life so much easier. When you get down closer to the end of the quarter, we'll be able to come in here and do you know, the tax calculations, and we'll see how much we owe and things of that nature, so that we can kind of better plan on what's going on in our business. So anyway, that's where we're at. I guess we're going to leave it there for today. It's all it takes is to come in here every day and just kind of update your loads. You know, if you have one truck or you have 3 trucks, or if you're a fleet builder and you have more trucks, this is just a great way to keep everybody on the same page, keep everything up to date. And really all it takes is a little bit of time to get things updated. Recently, someone asked me if we don't have the ELD app, how do we get the load information then dispatched out to the driver? And there are different options. You can send that stuff via email. Let me see if I can look at that real quick. If we were looking at a trip, and we were looking at one for John Doe here, this top one, if we view that, you know, I can also have a trip report right here that will send via email. Now, what that did is that opened up an extra page, an extra PDF. It opened up a PDF, okay? And then right here, there's a send via email, which sends the whole trip, all that trip information via email. And then if I want to attach a map and driving directions to that, I can. And his email is on file, you know, in the system here. So the system already knows, you know, who we're sending it to, and it'll just fire it right off. So it really is pretty easy. But if you have the ELD app, it just shows up in the app and you don't have to do anything. It's just automatically right there for the driver. So it does make it easier. So with that being said, if you're watching this video later on, I'm doing these as a live cast. Well, the plan here is to log in every day and just do a little update on the trucking company so that you can see kind of what the progression is, as you go about the daily activities of running the business. And as time goes on, I can put in all different types of scenarios. So if you guys have questions, go ahead and put the questions in the comments that I can look at them later, and then I'll cover that in the next day's broadcast. We're just starting this out, so I know there's not a lot of live followers right now, but as time goes on, maybe there will be. The idea, though, is that we want to answer any questions that are going to come up in using the software. So if you're on a free trial now, maybe you just started using it, maybe you want to see some examples of how this would work for your business operation. Maybe we can tailor some of the examples. If you just have some simple questions about how to do certain things, throw it in the comments. I'll be happy to answer for you, okay? So make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel so that you can get alerts whenever we're going active. Every day I kind of do it at a little bit of a different time. I'm trying to get a little more disciplined about the schedule. I'd like to set a specific time, but I do have a lot of other things I'm doing too. So sometimes it's just time management, right? But some point in time during the day, I want to break in here and just spend about a half hour or so, updating the records every day. And we'll just keep running this trucking business. And as time goes on, there will be more and more records in here so that you can see what it's going to look like your company after you're using it for a while and you start seeing some of these things update. Once we get several months worth of business in here, we can start doing a little bit of analysis too, like, hey, are we doing better or worse, and etc. like that. If you're catching this video on YouTube or someplace and you don't know about Trucking Office software and you're not familiar with it, then please go to the website at truckingoffice.com, sign up for the free trial. It's very easy. It's a true no obligation. Try it before you buy it, free trial. There's no trick here, enter your credit card things or anything like that. Just a simple form. Enter your email address. We're going to send you some emails and stuff like that with some training videos of how to use the system and invite you to our Facebook group and things like that, but it doesn't hurt to try it. Check out the free trial, and we'd love the opportunity to earn your business. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up for today, and we'll check back in tomorrow. Thanks. Have a good day.